So, Zara, you rush up after you shout these things at them, and they're caught by surprise. So you rush up in this front one. This is the emissary, the one that's wearing, or no, sorry, there's the one with the axe, is the one that you hit. So you come up with your cat claws and your swords, and you rush him and you hit. He blocks as he's trying to block with his axe, but you're too quick for him, and you manage to get around and slice at his torso. Yeah. So back in the woodline, Erebus is steaming to himself. He puts his hands up near his face as he's kind of giggling as he's casting the spell, and this disembodied hand just appears in front of you, Azarias, and you see it come up behind this Groken, and it clutches onto the Groken's shoulder, and it squeezes really tight. You see this icy frost come from the fingertips, and the Groken is caught completely by surprise. That he's like, ah! This thing is pulling onto his shoulder, and it shoots pain through his body. And he's still standing tall, but it looks to have done quite a bit of damage to him. So this Groken flashes his steel and tries to slash at Azarias. And that is 17 to hit? Okay, so that is 6 damage. Littletoe's turn.
I am going to pull out my short bow and shoot the already damaged Groken. 11.
You hit. Wow.
Awesome.
Very nice. So, Littletoe rushes through the brush, and you're just plowing through this stuff. And some of it's slapping you in the face, but you're managing to push past it even though you're really tiny. And then you pull out, you slide up towards Azarias, and you're able to fire an arrow in between his legs.
Yeah.
It comes up, and it flies through underneath your legs, and it flies up into this guy, and it hits him right in the chest. And it knocks the wind out of him as he goes, he is still alive, but he's just hanging on.
I'm going to cast Grease.
Okay. Alrighty. So the two in the back fail, but the one that is still standing in front of Azarias.
Okay, so they are technically covered in grease. So if they move from the area, they also need to do that.
Okay. Okay.
And people that move through also move through.
It's gonna be
Gotcha. So, and you didn't move, right?
No, I stayed.
Okay, so Ezekiel, what you're doing is you bring up your monkey paws, and you're casting this spell as you're whispering it out in avian, and you push your hands out, and this grease forms beneath these two Groken, and their feet, they get caught up on it, and they fall flat on their back. And the other Groken that's standing there looks back at them. He's like, "What are you doing? Get it up!"
Cool. All right, time for round that. So 14 plus 3 is 17 damage.
17 damage. Okay, so you come down as this guy's looking back and probably just the Patriots to get up. And you swing your greatsword up at just the right angle. And these things have real thick necks, but guess what? You slice right through.
Yeah.
You see his head flop off and his massive tongue just droop out from the neck hole as it falls over, and splashes of blood flies out onto Littletoe, who is standing nearby, and he's now drenched in broken blood. So these other tribesmen, they come up. Darius, he takes his spear and he jabs directly into one of the Groken, and it squeals and flails, and the other four.
What does the Groken squeal?
And the rest start jabbing their spears into these guys, and all of them are hitting because it's not hard to miss a giant Groken. So they have a turn of stabbing, and these Groken are still dodging a bit, so they manage to stay alive, but they're just barely hanging on now at this point. So there's still another round of them flailing like a bunch of children.
Alright, I'll move around here, and I'll go ahead and shoot the guy in front of me.
Alright. So you fire a couple arrows at this thing, and he manages to swerve back and forth and bob and weave them. Manages to miss them. And the arrows fly, and they nearly miss Zara, but they go in between her elbows and her flanks, so they fly through.
Top around is me. And since I am flanking this mofo, I'm going to swing. And say, "You will never take this town. You are good people."
Okay, so Azarias takes his greatsword, flashes down in this thing, and you chunk straight into his jugular, and your sword hits right down into him, cuts all the way down to around his sternum, and then you rip it out. As you rip it out, his body falls apart into the flame. You can see him being scorched, and his body just starts to melt. Okay, Zara, it is your turn. You just saw this Groken across from you get lit up, so the one right in front of you is still alive.
So my first attack is going to be 13 plus 6.
Definitely hits. Okay. So Zara, you start stabbing at this guy, and your blades, they get a little dirty from the grease and the fire. They get a little bit scorched up, but you manage to put this thing out of its misery. So now all 3 Groken are dead. Good job, team. Now that the battle has ended, Darius looks at you all. Darius looks at you all, and he's like, "What were all of you thinking?" He sighs, and Astri, the chieftain, comes up. He says, "We knew that they were planning this. Now that you've all rushed this war upon us,
We did exactly what you wanted.
Navima, she looks at you and she smirks a little bit, and she doesn't say anything. And she's like, what we wanted to do was harbor a peace between the Groken and our tribe. Locust comes up to his father, and he confirms what you said. He says, we saw the Groken. They were up by the shrine. They were tearing it apart as we left. Darius nods. Like, thank you for keeping an eye on them. Astri, the chieftain, he looks at Darius and says, Darius, prepare warriors for night's watch along the village. And Navima, meet with me in my hut. And he turns around and he turns to all of you. He says, you all should get some rest, because I'll be having you up late this evening for the night guard. So he turns and starts heading towards his hut. And Philokas rushes up behind him and grabs his wrist. He says, Father, we can prepare the boats and leave tonight. Please. And his father, he stops cold. And without turning his head, he raises his hand and he slaps Philokas hard across the face, dropping him to the ground. And he looks at him, he says, we do not flee like sand rats, Philokas. This is not our way. Now stand up and show your people the courage of a chieftain. Philokas is still on the ground, and you can see him wiping tears from his face, and he says, I wish you hadn't all seen that. He's right. I need to stop being so afraid. He walks out towards the shoreline and takes a breather. So you guys are all going towards the hut. You see Astri go inside the hut. He throws the flap open, and he looks really angry. Navima is following closely behind, and she almost looks like she's giggling a little bit as she's walking in. And so you see her going, and you see the flap close in front of you, Sue. Yeah? Okay. No subtlety at all. All right. Trudge right in. Are all of you deciding to go in?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys all follow these guys in, and Astri goes in, and there's a small table and a tiny wooden chair that you can tell, was fashioned by the people there. He sits down and rubs his hand through his hair, and he looks very stressed out. And he looks actually kind of pale in the darker light from inside. He looks pale, and like you can see sweat going down his face, and he looks a little bit ill actually as you get closer to him. Navima comes in behind him, and she wanders off to the side, and you can see her starting to light some candles in the corner. So you guys come in behind them.
Yeah.
So you
How
see,
big is this tent?
it's about a little bit larger than this table. So let's see, radius of about 5-6 feet. It's like a small little desk that he has next to his chair.
I sit up on top of the desk.
The one he's sitting right next to.
Yes.
Okay. You're a tiny little man.
Not showing.
Okay. You get in his face, and he's like, excuse me. Hey, what are you all doing in here?
I take out the papers.
So you start with the picture of the garden?
Yes.
Okay. And the fruit?
Yes, and the picture of the wolf-looking thing that we got.
The fox beast thing. Yeah.
And saw this creature that was fox-like, but humanoid, and it attacked us and wanted this fruit.
Where did you find this fruit again? You all went to the garden.
Yeah.
Let me see the fruit.
Sure.
Okay, so she takes it from your hand, and she takes a look at it. And she puts it near her face, and she sniffs it a little bit. And she just holds it, and she hands it back to you. You should take care of this.
Okay. Do you know what it is?
Don't eat it. That would be a poor choice.
Do you know what it is?
I'm not quite sure, but it
You
seems
know a lot.
it seems important.
She's like, oh,
Azarias does not believe her. He believes that there is something more to the story. Littletoe, you trust that she probably knows what she's talking about and that she's... No, you trust that she probably doesn't know much more than what she's letting on. Ezekiel, you definitely... You're not doing a roll? Okay, so you trust her. Zara, you doing a... No? And then... Erebus? Are you doing an insight? Okay. So you also feel like she probably knows what she's talking about because you too don't recall anything out of sorts with fruits that are like that. So, probably just a fruit.